What's good, everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Today we have some awesome information for you guys, but before we get into that, please make sure you hit that like button, also subscribe if you're someone new, and click that notification bell to get my videos first. And of course, sorry for any bad audio or background noise, as I'm still using my secondary setup on my little vacation, but I will be back to full operation soon by the end of the month. But we do have new videos daily on the channel and live streams every other day in the meantime. Now let's go ahead and get into this here first, guys, and we're talking about Metroid Dread, and something that I thought was not possible in the region of Japan with the Metroid franchise. So far, we have a double whammy for you guys. Metroid Dread is the #1 game on the eShop in Japan as of the time that I'm recording this video. So that is something that I did not expect with Metroid Dread. Even being a brand new release, obviously a big release for Nintendo, Metroid has never really gained any type of notoriety in Japan outside of more of the fringe audience out there. Obviously, it's even more niche overall compared to the other franchises Nintendo has, but especially for Japan, the Metroid franchise is definitely more popular in the West and the US in particular. So to see Metroid Dread at the top of the eShop sales charts in Japan is definitely a good start. Now, it's not the be-all end-all. It's not saying that it's going to sell 10 million copies or anything like that, just because eShop sales in Japan are definitely a smaller number compared to what you'd see in the West, of course, just because of the install base and just the consumption of digital products in Japan with Nintendo isn't quite as high maybe in some other regions, but still, it's good to see that it even had that in the first place. Now, if you combine that with a shocker to me at least, and that is the Amazon bestsellers in Japan, where Metroid Dread was definitely lagging behind other countries, specifically with the US in terms of the rate of pre-orders or sales before the launch of the game. Metroid Dread never got up to the top spot, but now what I'm seeing on Amazon Japan is that Metroid Dread is the #1 bestseller in video games and also in new releases as well. What we're seeing here is Metroid Dread, the #1 game. Then you also have the Nintendo Switch system, so people are buying the Switch system with Metroid Dread. The Nintendo Switch OLED is not on here as of yet, but maybe it'll be on there once they get more stock for Amazon Japan. And then you see Pokemon as well. So it's very good to see that on both the bestsellers and also the new releases. So bestsellers deal with games on an hourly basis and how well that's doing, while new releases go based off of when the game is available for pre-order. So you're seeing trending sales, of course, because the game just launched, and then you're also seeing sales that are good based on how long it's been out for pre-orders. So that's very good as well. Very good to see that Metroid Dread is having some success in Japan. And once again, I did not expect to see that for the eShop and Amazon, because every time that I've checked with Metroid Dread in Japan, it's never been up at the top #1. Now, here in the US, yes, that's been the case. We've had Metroid Dread be a top pre-order on GameStop, for example. We've had Metroid Dread be a top seller on Amazon in the US and on different regions. We've seen that, but I haven't seen it for Japan. So I do think a couple of different things here. One, I think that Metroid Dread is going to be more popular in Japan because of the Switch system. It's the Switch effect that naturally happens with a lot of Nintendo first-party games. So that's the first thing right there. And then the second thing is I think the aesthetics of it is going to pull more people in. So the popularity of the system itself with the Nintendo Switch, then also the fact that it has the type of aesthetics, the look of the game, what they're doing with it, how long it's been, all of the things that kind of play into, I think, what Japanese gamers would want a bit more, which is a high quality 2D Metroid game that's fast and very nice, coupled with some new hardware, and also has a new theme or concept that I think that can appeal to that region with the core gamers Nintendo does have, that you can play on the TV and also on the go in high quality. So I think that that is a very important aspect to seeing how well Dread is doing, or the fact that Dread is doing as well as it is so far. Now, once again, this does not mean that this is sold like 10 million copies or anything like that. I am not stating that. What I'm stating is that I'm surprised, and I did not expect Metroid Dread to top 2 different major sales charts when it comes to the eShop in Japan and also the Amazon best sellers and also new releases. So technically, I guess 3 different ones there. So it's a good start. It's something that I want to see. We all want to see Metroid become popular. We all want to see Metroid do better. And I think that the Switch effect, combined with the game just being absolutely fantastic with the reviews, which I talked about in my my previous video yesterday or so. Make sure you guys check that out. The reviews, the system itself, the Switch OLED, there's so many factors that are going positively for Metroid Dread. So that's why the game is having the success it's having so far in many different regions, not just Japan, but of course here in the US, in Europe, in terms of just pre-orders so far and people being excited for a brand new Metroid game. So what are your thoughts when it comes to Metroid Dread topping the Japanese eShop and also topping bestsellers on Amazon in Japan? Kind of unexpected for this type of game and for this franchise. Let me know in the comment section below. All right, and moving on to the next topic here, guys, we do have a very interesting article that Nintendo uploaded talking about the Nintendo Switch OLED and what they're doing with the system and the people that have worked on it. It's two of Nintendo's big men on campus when it comes to technology that they use. So I will have a link for you guys where you can check out the full article and everything. I'll put that in the description below. But a very interesting side note is the Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons. Much discussion has been had about these. Is Nintendo actually trying to fix them? Has there been improvements to them? They're just leaving it. They're not doing anything. We know about the lawsuit, so obviously Nintendo can't talk too much. So I think they slickly worded this part about the Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons, but I do want to talk about this because I do find it very interesting. So in this interview, one of the questions posed was, another major characteristic of the Nintendo Switch is the Joy-Con controllers. A big part of the user experience comes from the Joy-Con, but were there any improvements? And here's what Mr. Yamashita has to say from Nintendo. Joy-Con controllers have lots of different features, so we've been continuing to make improvements that may not always be visible. Among others, the analog sticks have continuously been improved since launch, and we are still working on improvements. The analog sticks at first release cleared the Nintendo reliability test using the method of rotating the sticks while continually applying a load to it, with the same criteria as the Wii U gamepad's analog stick. As we have always been trying to improve it as well, we have investigated the Joy-Con controllers used by customers and repeatedly improved the wear resistance and durability. The parts of the Joy-Con analog sticks are not something that can be bought off the shelf, but are specifically designed, so we have undergone a lot of considerations to improve them. In addition, we improved the reliability test itself, and we have continued to make changes to improve durability and clear this new test. When the effects of our improvements were confirmed, we promptly incorporated them into the Joy-Con controllers that are included with the console, Nintendo Switch Lite and the ones sold individually that were manufactured at the time. This involves the internal components of the Joy-Con, so you can't tell the improvements from the outside, but we use the new versions of the parts when we repair them. Also, similar continual improvements have been made for the Nintendo Switch Pro controller as well. Now here is a follow-up question to that. Do you mean that basically wear is unavoidable as long as the parts are physically in contact? Here's what Mr. Shiota has to say. Yes. For example, car tires wear out as the car moves, as they are in constant friction with the ground to rotate. So with the same premise, we asked ourselves, how can we improve durability? And not only that, but how can both operability and durability coexist? It's something we are continuously tackling. Now, Yamashita also added this to that. The degree of wear depends on factors like the combination of the materials and forms. So we continue to make improvements by researching which combinations are less likely to wear. We mentioned that the Joy-Con controller specifications hadn't changed in a sense that we didn't add new features such as new buttons, but the analog sticks and the Joy-Con controllers included with the Nintendo Switch OLED model are the latest version of all the improvements. Needless to say, so are the analog sticks included in Nintendo Switch, Nintendo Switch Lite, separately sold Joy-Con controllers, and Nintendo Switch Pro controller that are currently being shipped. So this is a very loaded interview with everything there, but even that part right there. So essentially what Nintendo is saying is that while people have taken apart the Joy-Cons and said, oh, well, nothing's changed, they didn't change anything from it, they have been making smaller changes that you necessarily can't see on there, and they have been completely revising it each time and adding those new components or those new things into the controller itself. And the newest model with the Nintendo Switch OLED has all of those additions added in. Now, here's what I think could be the case with this, because some people get analog drift really quickly, other people don't get it at all. Some people it takes a lot longer to get. There's such a varying form or way that it happens, and I think that maybe this is the reason why. Some people pick up an older one of it without some of the improvements. Some people pick up ones that are more of the latest ones. Some people pick up ones that are in between. So it's a little bit of a varying factor. But I do think that Nintendo has to make sure whatever they can do to make sure that they fix these in terms of the Joy-Cons people who do have issues in a more efficient manner for worldwide. Now, here in the US, we have that, but I know other places it's not so easy and it might take a little bit longer. So I think that that's something that they definitely need to make sure that they can get done. But I do like the fact that they are improving it with the Nintendo Switch OLED and some of the other controllers. Now, I've purchased some of the newer ones and I haven't had any issues with some of the newer Joy-Cons that I use somewhat frequently. I was playing The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword and some of the other stuff. I bought some newer Pro controllers and I didn't have issues like I had with some of my stuff at the beginning of the Switch's life. So it does seem like that is the case in terms of what they're saying. I just wish that could have been communicated a little bit earlier than now at this point. But I do know that there was lawsuits ongoing, so there's certain things that they can and cannot say. But hey, it is what it is there. But what are your thoughts when it comes to this with the Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons in addition to Metroid Dread, the surprise in Japan? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate that. Please make sure you hit that like button if you forgot to do so. Subscribe if you're someone new. Click that notification bell once again, and we will see you for the next video. Peace.